Civil War. This film was directed by Alex Garlands and is the same man behind Ex Machina and Annihilation. And in this film, we're set in a dystopian future America where a team of military war journalists race against time to reach Washington, D.C. before rebel factions descend upon the White House and kill the president. That's all I'm going to say without spoiling anything, but Civil War. This was a movie I was very cautiously optimistic about, to be completely honest with you. Alex Garlands is one of those directors where I honestly have no idea what to expect whenever I walk into one of his movies, because the director has been very hit or miss in my opinion. Like, sometimes he makes like a really fascinating movie that really sticks with me and intrigues me, like Annihilation, which I'm gonna say right now, I don't love that movie, but just what it did to me and how it made me feel afterwards really made that movie stick in my mind forever. Like, I still remember that movie, and I still don't mind the movie, I just don't think it's like amazing or anything. And I can't really base any of my information off of Ex Machina either, because I'm one of those weird ones who hasn't seen that movie. It's on my list, I know, but I haven't seen it quite yet. But then I think about what else he's made, and the other film that I've seen from him that he's made is Men, which is kind of infamous for me personally, just because, I was not a fan of Men. I thought it was honestly one of the worst movies I have ever seen. Like, it was boring, it made no sense, like I understood what they were trying to do, but it didn't really have like a satisfying resolution in that movie in my personal opinion, so I really hated it. So due to that, it really just got stuck in my mind, and I was never really able to shake off that feeling that Men gave me, which was just pain, because I absolutely hated this movie. So when this movie got announced, I really didn't know what to think. I thought it was cool that this was the most expensive A24 movie ever made in terms of a budget, and I did also appreciate that they were trying to go a little bit more into the mainstream. Like, this movie wasn't trying to be like a super weird, like, I guess you could say giant metaphor or message about a certain topic. It literally looked like just like a war movie, which I'm gonna say right now, I'm also not a huge fan of war films. Like, I can watch them, don't get me wrong. Like, some of my favorite movies of all time are war films. Like Hacksaw Ridge, I fucking love that movie. But I find most times whenever I watch a war movie, I pretty much watch the exact same movie. Like, I know that's not the case, and I think that's a very surface level way of looking at it, but I just really never get truly invested in them. It takes a lot to really get me sucked into this type of a story with this sort of like subject matter. So when I saw the trailers for this movie, I kind of said, uh-oh, like, is this just gonna be another war movie? Like, oh god. And I was kind of dreading it, just a little bit. As soon as it started to get good reviews, I got a lot more happy and a lot more like, okay, maybe this movie will be something good. And I'm glad to say that Civil War 110% achieved that for me. I personally thought this was a great movie, but before I really get into the review and talk about the things I really like about this movie, I do want to stress something to the audience who's watching this and the people who are kind of on the fence if they even want to see this movie in general. If you're going into this movie expecting it to be just another war film about like soldiers on the ground and stuff, and a very just in-depth political film about like two countries going at it, this is not your movie. I just want to say right now, the movie is really nothing like that. This movie honestly really surprised me in terms of what it was actually about, which is in the trailer, and it is spotlighted in the trailer, but I feel like the marketing kind of didn't do the whole film justice, so I feel like some people will go into this movie kind of disappointed that that's not what they got, even though it was marketed that way. Like, this film really just isn't political at all. It's not what it's trying to focus on throughout the entire movie, like, at all. Like, that's not the point. There is a war going on within the movie, but the film really never makes it its focus, like the political struggle between these two countries. No. The main purpose of this movie is giving you a deeper look into the career and struggles of war photographers and the trauma that they go through on a daily basis and how dangerous the profession really is. That's where this movie's focus is. And for that matter, I think they did an amazing job that makes it really separate itself from other war movies of similar nature that have been made. I actually think this film is incredibly unique with its presentation and its story and its perspective, because you never really think, when you look at all the pictures in your textbook of like all these horrific wars and stuff, you never really think, oh, I wonder what the photographer was going through at that time. But this movie answers that and gives you a deeper look into what these people have to do for a living and the dangers that they have to go through to just get a penny. It gives you a brand new perspective of things, and I honestly thought that was kind of ingenious of what Alex did here. I thought he did a fantastic fantastic job of portraying this side of someone's life and this profession that some people do want to be involved with. He does an amazing job of just properly displaying how this job works and what these people have to go through, and I absolutely loved it throughout the course of the movie, and it kept me so engaged the entire time. But even though the film is about the war photographers, this film is still a cautionary tale about the dangers of war, and how obviously war is not good. This is not something that we should want as human beings ever. Like, war is terrible. And Alex Garland was the perfect man for this mission, because the guy is a master of atmosphere, and a master of making you feel incredibly uneasy. And I think he did that amazingly in this movie, where every war scene in this movie, even though it looks beautiful, it's choreographed amazingly, it really just makes you feel like you're in an actual war. And it puts you into these incredibly tense situations that make you feel so uncomfortable. And that's not a negative at all. Like, that's the point of the movie. It's trying to show you that war is terrible. And I think a very important part of the movie is that Alex Garland never shies away to show the audience the true horrors of war. Like, there are a lot of really disturbing scenes in this movie, and a lot of really terrible imagery that is just meant to make you feel uneasy, and honestly is meant to stick in your head for a while and show you the true side of war and the true horrors of it. And for that matter, I think he did a fantastic job, because the next thing I do want to talk about is just how tense this movie is. Like, I have never been this stressed out for a movie all year long. There are so many different scenes in this movie that are so goddamn suspenseful, that keep you on the edge of your seat the entire time, and keep you fully invested too. Like, it's not just a thing where you just feel uncomfortable the entire time. And it really just ties in with the themes of war, like I talked about earlier. That's the point. It's trying to put you in the middle of this situation that these people are going through, and I think it does it amazingly. Like, as an example, there's a scene in the trailer with Jesse Plemons, who I want to say, Jesse Plemons is a fantastic friggin' actor. Before I go on, his scene in this movie when he's in it is genuinely one of the most terrifying scenes I've seen all year. And this isn't even a horror movie.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you? You don't know?
But that's just like one example of like 10 scenes in this movie that had me completely on the edge of my seat and just completely just locked in and just really terrified for our characters. There are so many great scenes like that spread throughout the entire movie. And I also love just all the acting in this movie. I don't think anyone really brings a bad performance here. Everyone does an amazing job, especially Kristen Dunst, who I haven't seen in a while in a lot of things. I don't know where she's been in Hollywood, but she's in this movie and she plays this photographer who's a professional. She has seen every horror of war that can be thrown at her. Everything disturbing she has probably seen. So she comes off as a very cold character, a very emotionless character. But hearing that, you might think to yourself, oh, this character is boring or unlikable, and that could not be further from the truth, because the film does such a great job at putting you in her shoes and really explaining what she's been through and how she feels on a daily basis, which makes the character a lot more likable. I also really love Stephen McKinley in this movie. I haven't seen him in a whole lot either, but I thought his performance in this movie was honestly really, really great. He was almost like that little bright spot in this giant war that was going on, where he was just trying to stay positive to an extent. Like, he wasn't trying to sugarcoat it or anything, but he was trying to make everyone feel at least a little bit more in a good mood. And I loved his performance throughout the movie. I loved his character. He was just such a nice addition to this movie. The only thing I would really even critique with this movie is a moment closer to the end of the movie that is a spoiler, so I have to kind of tiptoe around it, that involves a character making a decision, and I don't think it was a very in-character decision that was made. It feels honestly kind of out of nowhere, and there is some build-up towards it. Like, I understand what they were trying to do, but the character that they had and what they were trying to, like, I guess you could say establish, and what they were trying to, like, I guess you could say really didn't work in my opinion. I felt there should have been a little bit more development and a little bit more foreshadowing foreshadowing towards this moment itself, because I don't think it really fully works in the movie. And it definitely doesn't like kill the movie at all. It doesn't like make it awful or anything, but it's just a little moment that I didn't love closer to the end of the movie. But that doesn't mean this is a bad movie at all. I still thought this movie was honestly really, really good, and that's why I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. I thought it was insanely unique, and I honestly thought it was just a really big eye-opener, and honestly, everything in this movie was just perfect. Like, Alex Garland is a talented director, he knows what he's doing, and I thought this movie more than proves that. He's amazing, and I really like this movie, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's interested. But yeah, that's what I thought of Civil War. If you have a different opinion than me, put it down in the comments. I'll be sure to read them. I love reading the comments from you guys. But with that, if you like this video, please like and subscribe down below for more content on the channel coming pretty damn soon. And I'm gonna see you on the next one. See ya.